Look at how that may be funded if council wish to consider that. And there's two sources of funding identified, one being $100,000 from the open space contribution and the other being $50,000 relating to DC Barron Reserve, only on the basis of the fact that that particular project won't be ready for commencement in this budget year. So officers are working closely with the DC Barron Committee to undertake a further application based on a federal application that they were not successful in excluding. So that project has been delayed. So there is an identified source of funds, and if council wished us to look at others, that would also be an option. The alternative, there is an alternative noted in the report as well that council could consider this as a budget bid in the forthcoming budget year as well for the 25-26 budget, noting, however, that the design and civil works and installation would occur at a different point in time and be subject to potential increased costs. So the report is before you for consideration.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. I'll open this up for questions from councillors. Any questions?
Yeah, well,
Councillor Dukas?
yeah, I've got some interesting questions. The first question is this flying fox, with relation to safety, will that be made safe of an evening so it can't be misused? And the reason I ask that, I believe Warrnambool with its slide and flying fox gets locked up or made safe of an evening at the cost of $200 per evening. Somebody goes and makes safe the slide. I don't know whether that includes the flying fox or not, but $200 every day to make safe. I mean, we should investigate. I'm not saying that Port Fairy people are going to do the wrong thing of an evening, but considering it happens in other places, what are we going to do? Have we investigated that part of it?
Through the Mayor, I would need to take that question on notice. However, I do note Jubilee Park here, Woodford, has a flying fox, and to my understanding that is not secured. That's local to me where I live, and I've not noted any damage or issue with that flying fox, but it is something that we should consider and look at. So I'd need to take it on notice.
Thank you, Ms Farrell.
No, that's there. Ms Farrell takes it on notice and we'll find out exactly what happens in other parts, especially Warrnambool. I mean, this is about the flying fox, but we've already approved funding for the slide. So if that gets misused as well, then we're going to be up for X amount of dollars every evening to make these places safe.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Other questions from councillors?
I just had one.
Councillor Ross, yeah.
The 50,000 from the DC Recreation Reserve budget. It's already there, I'm assuming, and they're going to put a budget bid in to the federal government for 50,000 in the future, which is not, we haven't received it all. Are we?
So through the mayor, so the previous council had endorsed a contribution to DC Farron of 50,000 in the current budget, and then a further commitment of 200,000 as a pre-commitment in the 25-26 budget. So it's a total of 250. That's a contribution to a project that is about $2 million. So they would be undertaking other fundraising and have other funds that they would access should they receive a state government fund that they're going for now, a community infrastructure fund. So it's a 250 contribution from council. That was a pre-commitment essential.
Thank you, Isabel. Further questions? If not, we do have a three-part officer recommendation before us. I'll seek a mover, please. Councillor Lockett, and seconder for that, Councillor Ryan. Thank you, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the work that officers have done. I think we've got a good report, and we've been adjusting as we go with this project because it's a big project. But just to note, the 2.7 million total, 2.4 million of that funding is grant funding. Those were, as Barry was saying, there's council contributions around for advocate. This will obviously increase that, but we have put out that we are building a regional district level playground, and I think this will ensure that it meets the epicness of the community expectations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. As the seconder, Councillor Ryan.
I reserve my right. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Other councillors wish to speak for or against the motion?
Can I have a clarification, please?
Yeah, Councillor Dukas.
If this gets up as 150, the 150 we approve those 300, is that 300 on top of the 2.7 that Councillor Lockett is talking about?
Mr. Edstone?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So, yes, it is. So both values are over and above the 2.7.
And that 2.7 includes the roadworks and the auxiliary works, etc.
Yep, through you, Mayor. You can, Councillor Dukas, it does.
300 is added on just for the playground. So the playground compartment, which was what, 1.6 or something? Is that correct? I don't know. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
the 300 goes on top of the playground, nothing. That's all. So playground equipment, one,
Correct.
a flying fox, and the other one, a tower going from two tiers to 3.
That's correct, Councillor Dukas. So, still calling for any councillors who wish to speak for or against the motion. If there is nobody, I'll come back to you. You've reserved your right. Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. Just in regards to what Councillor Lockett said before, it's what our community is expecting for us to deliver a district level playground. Unfortunately, costs do go up with the amount of time that has passed between the previous council's endorsement and now. And that has seen some increased costs across the board, which has seen a reduction in some equipment. So I think it's important that this piece of additional equipment to be included is a great addition to a epic project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And coming back to you to sum up, Councillor Lockett, please.
No further need.
Okay, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour, please, of the officer recommendation, please raise your hands. In favour, Councillor Murray, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Lockett, Councillor Foster and Councillor Ross. Thank you. Those against, Councillor Dukas. Thank you, councillors. That motion is passed. I move to 2.2, signage policy and guidelines. And again, I'll call on our Director of Assets and Community, Ms. Farrell, please.
Thank you, through the mayor. So council, this is a new policy. We don't have a signage policy or guidelines. And it is essentially aimed at setting the vision and parameters for the assessment of and to inform planning and design of signage across the Shire. So it has undergone a period of consultation, and there were a number of submissions to that consultation process, largely focused on consideration of dual naming. The policy and guidelines have not been amended in response to that feedback, based on the fact that the Aboriginal Engagement and Partnership Plan endorsed by the previous council really covers off on that already. So the policy and guidelines apply to sites where council is the planning authority, public land manager, or where it's covered by the laws. And the scope is fairly wide-ranging, so it covers advertising, sport, recreation, open space, tourism and interpretive type signage, safety, gateway and township entry signage, and is outlined across a set of 8 objectives relating to consideration of safety, financial, sustainability and the like. So the report is before you. There are 2 sets of recommendations for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Over to councillors for questions of Ms Farrell. Noting that it has been through workshop. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask Ms Farrell, is a policy such as this a legislative requirement, or is it optional?
Through the Mayor, no, it would be optional.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. On policy objectives on page 35, there's a dot point that talks about inclusive and respectful. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Through the Mayor. So there's a definition outlined within the policy that details that, but in essence, it's really about ensuring that our signage is culturally appropriate and reflective of the diverse community that live and visit our Shire. So a good example would be where our signage is able to be interpreted or read by people, say, of a different, English not being their first language, as a good example, particularly for our tourists. So really just looking at ensuring that our signage is relevant and inclusive for all.
So when it comes to foreign language, which ones do we use? How do we pick which foreign language?
So through the Mayor, so it would be more that, as is fairly standard across lots of LGAs, that where you can, you would be using symbols that are universal in their meaning.
So it's not actually a language, it's just universal symbols. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Through a question just regarding there's some feedback in there regarding dual signage, and just wondering if you could speak about in regards to dual signage on dual names. I mean, in terms of Indigenous place names, just wondering if you could speak a bit about Aboriginal partnership agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Councillor Lockett. So through the Mayor, yes, the report indicates that there hasn't been a requirement to consider it here because it has already been picked up through the Aboriginal Engagement and Partnership Plan. And there's a series of actions contained within that plan that talk about signage and policy guidelines to consider the incorporation of Aboriginal language and or graphics where appropriate, that we actually undertake a review of policy and incorporate opportunities to rename or incorporate Aboriginal names, and commence the development of a policy regarding dual place naming of townships. So they are some aspirational actions within the Aboriginal Engagement Plan. It's felt to be that they are covered off by that plan. Any future intended dual naming would go through its own process and would each individually be referred and considered by council.
Thank you. So, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to note that the responses to the questionnaire regarding this policy that I believe Councillor Lockett just referred to, of the 14 respondents 4 to 14, all referenced the dual naming, but they were all pretty much identical responses. So I'd just like to note that.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you. Under inclusive and respectful, it talks about gender and does not discriminate. So at the moment, we've got male and female signs. What happens if there's a transgender person? Do we have to have a sign for them? Or do we need 2 signs for them, depending on whether they're male to female or female to male?
Ms. Bell, I'm not sure if you're able to answer that without notice. Councillor Rowan.
Through you, Matt. Transgender people do identify as a gender that's just opposite to what they were assigned to at birth. Non-binary is the term I think you might be looking for, Councillor Dukas, in regards to those that don't identify with a gender.
That doesn't help the community, though.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Ms. Farrell, is there a response you're able to give to that question?
Through the Mayor, I think in regards to the types of signage we're talking about here, where it's gateway signage or town entry signage, sport and recreational reserves, I see that probably as less of an issue. I think perhaps the question around gender-based signage might be more pertinent to amenities and facilities. That's not what we're dealing with here necessarily.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell.
That covers that.
Okay, there are no further questions from councillors. We have a 2-part officer recommendation there for which I seek mover. It's Councillor Ryan. Seconded, please. Councillor Lockett. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move a motion that Council adopts the Moyne Shire signage policy and Moyne Shire signage guidelines and consider a budget allocation in the 25-26 budget to commence the process of implementing Shire boundary signage improvements in line with this policy.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. And the difference there for those who are watching online is a small change to point 2, so that we're considering a budget allocation that's not with a particular value.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor.
And Councillor Lockett, you're happy with that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Councillor Ryan, do you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a great addition to what perceived to be some pretty rundown signs across the Shire, and working from our Shire boundaries inwards is a great place to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Ryan's comments, and I'm a big fan of the little blue sign all around the Shire. Out, there's some really small communities out there, say in Websworth or Lake Ponder, and there's and there's some that I'd like to see included that aren't there, say like Goose Lagoon and various others. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking this a bit, working out in the budget process where we can freshen up the sign, because we can spend millions, to be honest, but we'll work out where we can best spend it. I think, as Councillor Ryan alluded to, the boundary signs, I think, is a great starting point. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Do any councillors want to speak for or against this motion? Councillor,
Thank you, Mayor.
Taylor.
Thank you. I would just like to speak against the motion. I'm not against the policy, but I do have some issues with the wording that Councillor Dukas alluded to with regard to inclusive and respectful, and also further down financially sustainable. I just think that there can be unintended consequences with those types of words used in a policy document. And also, I think it would be hard to, they're subjective wording more than objective. So I think it would be hard to actually determine whether you're meeting those requirements. So that's my objection.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors want to speak?
Can I have a clarification, please?
Mm.
If this gets up will these signs be done under delegation?
Ms Farrell or Mr Everstone, would you like to?
Yeah, sorry, Ms Farrell, again.
Through the mayor. So I think this is just a first step in that we now would have to refer to the budget process to find any funds to undertake any improvements to signage. And certainly what would be intended from officers as per previous discussion with council is that we would actually develop a bit of an action plan about which signs we believe should be approached first in terms of improvements or replacements, and that would certainly come to council. So it would actually come back to council for decision if council choose through the budget process to fund any of the initiatives.
Thank you, Ms Farrell.
I'll just yeah, through you, Mayor, I'll just add to that yeah, we certainly understand the importance of Shire, town and key asset signage. So we would certainly approach all of that activity from a perspective of consultation for sure.
Thank you.
Well, I'll speak against it, Madam Mayor. Considering what Ms Farrell has just to say in the budget process and some of the wording in this policy, and that's what it is, a signage policy, I can't see the need for us to actually have a policy. If it has to go to a budget process, then we could use this document as a reference document and debate what signs need to be going where and how much they cost on a actually sign by sign. If we're going to do entrance signs, the officers can come in and say we need 4 entrance signs. Here, 3 of them. Which one do you want? And this is going to cost X amount. But if we support this the way it is, I'm not blaming the officers, but there's an opportunity for some of these signs to be hijacked by community groups, and we, the councillors, won't have any input into what happens to them, where they go and how they go.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll come back to you as the mover, Councillor Ryan, to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to continue to move this motion as is. I think it's important that we reflect our ever-growing Shire and ensure that we are to be seen to be investing in this space.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour, please. Councillor Murray, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Lockett, Councillor Foster, and those against, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ross and Councillor Dukas. The motion is passed 4-3. Item 2.3 is the Festival and Event Funding Guidelines Review for 2025-2026. Again, Director of Environment, Economy and Place. It's just over to you, Ms McNamara, our Director of Environment, Economy and Place, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Introducing the Festival and Event Funding Guidelines Review, which has recently been undertaken. The Festival and Event funding has been pretty much in operation since the 2021 financial year of council. It has been very successful over that period of time, with nearly a total of 4,700,000 worth of events being enabled through our modest $550,000 roundabout contribution. So it's a massive success, and the team have taken the opportunity to further enhance or refine the guidelines to make things a little bit easier for our community. Darby Lee's currently on the screen as well. He might have a little bit more to add, but we commend the guidelines for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms McNamara. Mr Lee, is there anything you wanted to add before I throw to councillors?
Through you, Mayor, maybe only that these guidelines support the festival and event policy that was adopted by council at last December's ordinary council meeting, and the officer's report before you includes a table that outlines what changes are being proposed for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr Lee. Councillors, do we have any questions for our officers, please?
Yeah,
Councillor Dukas?
I think I'll need to make reference to the 2 racing events, the Port Fairy and Roy Cup.
It's one event, that one. It's combined.
Yes, but it's 2 different races.
Okay, so on the same event day.
in the same event day.
Okay.
We'll split the difference.
We'll split the difference, go.
Okay, just because they're not held in Moyne Shire, then going forward, we'll find time to discuss what we intend to do with sponsorship of those two events.
Indeed.
So I take it as we will do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, councillor Dukas. If there are no other questions, I'm seeking a mover for the officer's recommendation that we adopt the updated festival and events guidelines, please. Councillor Ryan, and a seconder, councillor Lockett. To you, please, councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this provides our events team a much clearer direction forward to support them in the work that they tirelessly do within our Shire in this space, and any part that we can make our staff's role easier, the better, as well as providing our community groups and events a clearer and transparent set of guidelines to support them with their events as well is really important. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Ryan. Councillor Lockett, is there something?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to highlight, as Councillor Dukas mentioned before, the only real massive change is the geographical locations that festivals are within the bounds, the location of the Moyne Shire, which the geographical boundaries, that seems like a bit of a no-brainer, really. So I think that's a good change. And what an amazing amount of diverse festivals we have across our Shire in terms of music and arts and culture and sport. I think we're punching well above our weight in the festival area. So it's always exciting to changing and updating the policies as we go. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Lockett. Other councillors would like to speak for or against this particular motion? There being none, I'll come back to you as the lead, councillor Ryan. Thanks. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour, please. That is carried 7-0. Councillor Murray, councillor, I don't need to read anyone's name. 7-0. Thank you. Item 2.4, the age-friendly Victoria Declaration. And I'll go back to you, Ms. Farrell, our Director of Assets and Community, please, to introduce.
Thank you, through the Mayor. So this report is for Council's consideration to commit to signing the age-friendly Victoria Declaration. This declaration is a state government initiative and administered by the Municipal Association of Victoria. There are numerous councils that have signed up to this declaration over time. It essentially is a gesture to show council's commitment to fostering inclusive, supportive, sustainable communities that identify the value of older people in the community. As the report indicates, there is no financial implication to signing up to the declaration itself. We have had community groups who have made this request informally to council previously. It would align with some of the activity that council already undertakes in terms of the provision of aged care services as one example. So the report is there for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Do councillors have questions in relation to this item? If not, I am seeking a mover for a motion. Councillor Ryan, and a seconder, please. Councillor Murray. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe this declaration is a positive step to ensuring a third of our Shire over 60 remain connected, adequately represented, and opportunities to be socially active are fundamental to ageing to an age-friendly community. Aside from service provision, we must advocate for our seniors outside of aged care offerings, and this is a fantastic way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moyne. Councillor Murray is the seconder.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. As Ms. Farrell mentioned, this is a gesture. I think that there's actually more. This doesn't go far enough. There's more that we could do in this space as a council, but I think it's a really nice, positive first step. So I'm happy to speak for this.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Council, does anyone want to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll speak for it. In the words of Martin Heidegger, we're all being towards death, and I think that we are all ageing, and what a simple but positive thing to do for our ageing population. Most of this talks about using positive language towards, respecting our elders and our ageing population. As Councillor Ryan said, a third of our population in Moyne, we do have an ageing population. It's a great thing. And as Councillor Murray said, I think we need to do more in this space, and hopefully we do in our budgets going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to speak against the motion to sign this declaration. Firstly, I don't see that it's necessary to sign a declaration to continue good work in the space of supporting our ageing community. I'd be very wary of signing declarations because, in my opinion, everyone's saying there are no implications, but I believe that there probably are, even if they're not obvious at this time. As mentioned, it's a Victorian government initiative, and it's which is informed by the World Health Organisation's Age-Friendly Cities framework. So I think that you're actually potentially, by signing the declaration, conceding our autonomy to make decisions for our residents and ratepayers, because the decision-making is potentially being centralised. So I don't favour signing the declaration, and I think that we should be showing leadership by not signing the declaration.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wanting to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to support Councillor Taylor.
Sure, thank you. Next, Councillor Ross. Anyone else? Councillor Duke.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll be speaking against it. And just to take a note out of page 133, the third paragraph, it says, this approach aligns with Moyne Shire Council's commitment to creating active and connected communities and addressing barriers to participation for residents of all ages. So that's what we're already doing. And as Councillor Taylor said, should we be signing gestures? I mean, we could get 1,000 of them in front of us at the next council meeting. We should be signing something that's serious. I mean, consultation with seniors, community groups and service providers will be integral to developing age-friendly strategies and programs. So reading that, we haven't done that as yet. That's the way it reads to me, so that is yet to be done. So why is it before us if it hasn't happened?
Ms. Farrell.
If I could just respond to that. So we do already do that, and I think the example most recently of the expanded use of the senior citizen centres, so the U3A, by way of example, have received additional time. That's actually empowering those formal groups to actually operate for themselves. So it's just really empowering them to undertake the activities on council's behalf, really. And we also, as part of that report on the seniors, identified other older adult groups such as Probus and the likes, the Lions, that also were given free access. Formally, the free access was formalised for the use of senior citizen centres. So I think we are doing some of those things, and we consult on a case-by-case basis for those activities.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell.
Okay, yeah, true, and I thank Ms. Farrell for that, but I'm talking about consultation with seniors. I mean, what was it, the University of the Third Age, they came to us and we helped them out, and they do a fantastic job, but where has cross-Shire consultation, has it undertaken? We could have done it while we're doing our council plan, I suppose, but that's a lost opportunity. And just to highlight a point there, the state government, they're full of you-know-what. Just remind you, it wasn't that long ago we changed the train service in Warrnambool to Melbourne, and that was a debacle. People, not enough room, not enough seats. So if you're a senior and you got on that train, you might have had to stand up all the way to Melbourne. So where's the government foresight and thinking of the seniors when they implemented that new rail service? And it wasn't until the community stood up and the backlash from the community that they actually changed the seat, now you can actually book a seat. So, you know, for the state government to tell us what we should be doing, and they're getting told by the WHO, and thank God Donald Trump dumped them in a hurry. I mean, we don't need this. We're doing a good job as it is. And if any senior group or a senior, whether it's just a couple or one person, comes to us with an idea or a plan or whatever, we will help them. We shouldn't sign up to things that could put a noose around our neck. So that's why I'll be voting against it.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. I'll just briefly, I'll be supporting this motion. And I absolutely concede we're already doing a lot of work in this space. And I think I'm so delighted that we do that. And sometimes signals are important. And this one says, we value you. We want to keep you front and centre. And I note this was a request of the University of the Third Age that we sign on to this declaration. We're one of only, I think there's only one other council in our region that hasn't yet signed this declaration. I think it's something small we can do. It doesn't commit us to anything other than keeping our senior citizens and our most vulnerable people front of mind. So that's why I'll be supporting it. But I'll come back to you, Councillor Ryan, as the mover.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'd just like to highlight that the declaration priorities are national aged care reforms, strengthening the wellbeing of senior Victorians, addressing ageism, social connectedness and inclusion. So these may be set by a state government, but we're here to represent our community of Moyne, which I believe we can do through aligning with these priorities. They may be set by someone else, but there's no reason why we need to reinvent the wheel in this space if this has already been set. And strongly advocating for an age-friendly community is something that I wholeheartedly believe in for our Shire of Moyne.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. So we'll now put this to the vote. I will ask for all those in favour, please. Councillor Murray, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Lockett, Councillor Foster. All those against? Councillor Ross, Councillor Dukas and Councillor Taylor. That is carried 4-3. Thank you. Item 2.5, the fire levy update. I'll ask our Corporate and Governance Services Director, Mr. Ed Small, please, to introduce this to us.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I brought this report to Council to have formal record of the request that we've had from the state government to change the way the fire service levy is put in place and collected. So the government's given us notice that as of the 1st of July, they're abolishing the existing fire service property levy, and they're putting in place an emergency services and volunteers fund. And this new fund will be collected by council on behalf of the state government, much like the previous levy was. There are concerns being raised by members of the community and also by the MAV, which are being, I understand, being progressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Any questions from councillors? It's a very important issue. Questions? Councillor Dukas?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I know it's just to receive a note to report, but we've just moved the motion about seniors. So where does a senior couple sitting on their 40 acres or 50 acres retired pensioners, how do they find that extra money? You look at the cost going up under primary production from 28.7 cents up to 83 cents, plus the fixed charge. What's it do for them?
So that's a bit of a rhetorical question.
Well, the question is to all those in state government, you rant and rave about doing something for seniors, and here you are kicking them in the guts. Thanks very much, state government.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Are there any other questions?
I was just
Councillor Ross.
going to thank Ed for tabling it. That's all.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other questions? If not, we have got a recommendation there that we receive and note the advice. So I'm seeking a mover. Please.
I'd like to take the motion, please. So the motion is that council receive and note the advice from the state government of the replacement of the fire services property levy with a new emergency services and volunteers fund as of 1 July 2025. And we recognise the concerns being expressed by the community.
Thank you for that, Councillor Taylor. Do we have a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Ross, thank you. Councillor Taylor, Ms Mover, would you like to speak?
Oh,
to
yes,
this, please?
thank you. I'd just like to support that motion by saying that the Victorian Government's proposed changes from the FSPL to the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund is adding financial burdens to already economically distressed residents and ratepayers, and especially to our farmers and volunteers. And so, as well as handing on the burden to council to collect that fund. So I am pleased that it's being noted here as we work through the process.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ross is the seconder. Is there anything you'd like to speak to?
I'm just happy that's been tabled and share our concerns. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ross. Any other councillors want to speak for or against this motion? If not, I'll come back to you as the mover. Is there anything further you'd like to say to sum up, Councillor Taylor?
More to add.
Thank you. We'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour, please. That was Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Murray as well. So 7-0. Thank you. That is carried. Thanks, councillors. Item 2.6 is our monthly finance report. And I'll ask again Mr. Small, our Director of Corporate and Governance, to introduce this report for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, as the Mayor indicated, my regular finance report. Basically, we're looking at a precursor to our next month's finance report, where we're going to be looking at more detailed forecast for the end of the year. But the year-to-date results are looking favourable, and this is highlighted on the report on page 143. And also the revised year-end forecast results are also looking favourable. We've got a small deficit of 427,000 under the underlying deficit, which we hope to address next month. And we've got an increased operating surplus forecast of 8.9 million, which is a good result. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Questions in relation to this month's finance?
Yeah, well,
Councillor
the last
Dickus.
one, thank you. Capital works to Ms Farrell. I think it says here we've done capital works expenditure to date is 10.6 million, ahead of prior year comparative to the 10.4. Can you tell me what was our total budget for capital works? Are we halfway, 3/4? Because I think that pie chart's operational.
It's through the net.
Anyway, you take it on notice. I
Could I respond?
know it's
Yes,
been.
please, Mr. Small.
On page 156, it indicates our full year for budget is 33 million, and that's been adjusted because we had the rollover of the project for the vehicle fleet last year.
Ms Farrell?
If I could add to that, the projection for the end of the year, so we have a target of meeting or exceeding our percentage complete from last year, and we're well on track to achieving that. So we meet regularly to review the whole of the program.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Dickus?
Right. So what was the total spend for capital works?
Thank you.
Mr. Small.
Year to date, actual council, we're talking about 10.6 million. That's reported on
Yes.
page 156.
Right, and total update of the capital works expenditure for 24-25, updated budget was 33 million. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yes,
Right, and to date we've spent.
10.6, councillor.
Doesn't the updated one say 15?
I'm looking at the table on page 156.
Yes. Adopted budget.
Sorry, that's the capital works. That's the revenue, the 15 million.
15, right. So we've spent 10 out of 33.
Correct.
But this year is, from now on, is the busiest time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's when we do the ceiling and all that other expensive stuff. Right. Well, anyway, we'll get good weather, seeing we're in the grips of a drought.
Any other questions for Mr. Small? relation to finance? No. We have got an officer recommendation that we receive and note the monthly financial report for December. Second mover, please. Councillor Ross, thank you, and Councillor Murray. Councillor Ross.
No, just move.
Sure, thank you. Councillor Murray. As second.
Through you, Mayor, nothing further to add. I'm happy to second this one.
Thank you. I'll put that. Oh, I'm assuming you don't want to write a reply. Councillor Ross, no, all good. Any other councillors want to speak for or against? No, okay, let's put that one to the vote. All those in favour, please. That is carried 7-0. Item 2.7 is councillors and staff interaction protocol. Mr. Small, would you please introduce this report for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is a report that we've been encouraged to have. In fact, the Local Government Act is suggesting we do need one, though it's not giving us any particular timelines to it. But what it's telling us is the Operation Sandon Special Report really encouraged us to put in place. And the Local Government Inspectorate in January 23 considered that this having some form of protocol or policy around this would be very important. So we've been, we obviously read this up and talked to councillors about it before. We are very similar with the other neighbouring councils who have something similar in place, and Grenell recently adopted a similar policy. The intention is to provide an internal mechanism should any issue arise between two councillors, and they can resolve it quite smoothly. That's the intention.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Questions from councillors? Councillor Taylor.
It's just a note. I've just noted that the title under 2.7 actually uses the word protocol, but everywhere else it's policy.
So we are talking about a policy, Mr. Small, just to clarify, not
That's
a protocol.
correct. That's correct.
Thank you. Do we have questions? If not, I do seek a mover of the officer recommendation or something else. Councillor Ryan, thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Murray. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I'd just like to say it's great to have some additional guidance on this, especially as a new councillor. And it aligns very closely with our model councillor code of conduct that we all signed as councillors. So it provides us additional guidance on that and staff interactions. So I strongly endorse this policy. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. As a seconder, Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor. Again, I think as Councillor Ryan mentioned, it's very handy to have this as a bit of a roadmap, as a guide, and an important policy that I'm happy to support.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone want to speak for or against the motion that's in front of us? If not, I'll come back to you, Councillor Ryan.
No further comment.
Thank you. We'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour, please. Is carried 7-0. Thanks, councillors. Item 2.8, internal resolution procedure. And this one is specifically for councillors. Mr. Small, would you please talk us through this one?
Thank you, Councillor. This is the second of the two recommended procedures, and this one is in relation to an internal resolution procedure. This one we required to adopt. We're required to adopt by the state government by the 1st of July 2025. So we don't have much choice in not adopting, and we've endeavoured to set up one that is a sort of a simple and a consultative process to enable any particular potential conflict to be resolved within councillors, so it avoids needing to have a more formal process.
Thank you, Mr. Small. We have talked about this as councillors, but do we have questions today? If not, I'm seeking a mover for the officer recommendation, please. Councillor Murray, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Lockett. Councillor Murray, please.
Through you, Mayor. As Mr. Small mentioned, this is a mandatory item that we need to have, and it's great. It's details very clearly the steps to take for councillor resolution, and I'm very happy to support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much more to add up. Yeah, it's mandatory and it's procedural in a way, and but nonetheless very important process to have if it's needed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Councillors, would anyone like to speak for or against this one?
Can I seek clarification through the CEO, please? We discussed it earlier, but where it says on page 188, I felt disrespected when you said did. So a councillor could say something that in a room, not only amongst councillors, amongst 50 people, and that only one person finds offensive, and that person being a councillor, then it's up to the councillor who made the statement or comment to prove their innocence. The person making the complaint, they're viewed as the complaint is proven until someone proves their innocence, which isn't the way that we work under a democratic system. So why is this allowed to go the way it is? Where do we go? You know, do we have to go to the state government to tell them to review it? Or is this coming from the state government to, I suppose, noble people from saying whatever they still want to say? Is it stifling free speech just because someone thinks, well, they don't have to think it, they can just say it. They might not be offended by it all, but they can make the claim that they're offended, and the person being accused is, you know, they're 90% drowned.
Is there something you're willing to?
Yeah, through me, absolutely. Thanks, Councillor Dukas, for the question. I think as you iterated there, it is something coming to us from the state government as part of these regulations that we're being required to adopt. I think ultimately I think the intent is not about being innocent or guilty here. It's about seeking to understand perspectives. And ultimately, as you said, there could be a large room of people, and yes, that's correct. By definition, it may just take one of a room full of people to feel disrespected and then decide to take action through this policy. That's very possible here.
So, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, sure.
Does this include members of the public?
No, this just applies to councillors.
Yes, councillors.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can have 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
And 3 councillors, and one of those councillors can decide, I'm going to have a go at this councillor because I don't like what they said, even though they couldn't care less, because there is no proof on them to prove anything. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor. So ultimately what the policy encourages councillors to do together is come to the table, mediated through the Mayor, to have a discussion and try and come to a resolution internally. So that's the intent of the policy here. Ultimately, whether it's a group of councillors together or just one councillor, all of those are very much possible under this policy.
Thanks, Mr. Everstein. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against?
May I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Mr. Everstein, just given that this is a requirement by the state government, is there any recourse to reject the policy? And what happens in that instance?
Sure. Through you, Mayor. So, sorry, no, I didn't address sort of one of the other parts to Councillor Dukas' question before. It's certainly at any time council can provide feedback to state government about the views of council regarding any policy coming through. So that remains a go forward option. But we have been required, as Mr. Small said, to adopt this by the 1st of July. We'd have to take that on notice as to whether that would lead to any other consequences that may come from that period forward. But we haven't been given any specifics around that, other than it's an expectation that we will do that under the Act.
Thanks, Mr. Everstein.
Yeah.
Can I follow up? So this is our policy, not the state government's policy. We have to have one in place by the end of July, I believe. So there is nothing wrong with me voting against this if I think that we could come up with a better policy.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. It's very much to each councillor to cast their own vote for or against, but ultimately coming up with a policy before July is what's required.
All right, with that said, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to speak for the motion. Thank you. I'd just like to say I'd like to speak for the motion in its entirety as it stands, and I'd also like to reflect on the Model of Council Code of Conduct And under section 2, behaviours, we are bound by treating others, including other councillors, members of council staff and members of the public with dignity, fairness, objectivity, courtesy and respect. I think it's really important to consider others' perspectives and beliefs when we are communicating with everybody, no matter whether you're a councillor or not. So I think it's just really important that we're respecting everyone that we are communicating with. And this is just a really clear way to help support us do that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ryan. If there are no other councillors wanting to speak for or against, I'll come back to the mover of the motion, Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, we'll put this to the vote then. Item 2.8, the internal resolution procedure for councillors. All those in favour? Thank you. That is Councillor Murray, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Lockett, Councillor Foster, Councillor Ross, and those against, Councillor Taylor and Councillor Dukas. That is carried. Thank you. 5.2. Item 2.9, we'll move to Audit and Risk Committee Charter Update. And again, Mr. Small, you will take us through this one.
Councillors, this is the first of a series of reports in relation to the Audit and Risk Committee. Every 2 years or at other time, if somebody feels it's appropriate, we need to review the charter of the committee. And the Risk and Audit Committee members are requesting we review the charter with two primary changes in mind. One to do with the length of service of the external members, and one with enabling a process for the succession of members on the external members of the committee. So in relation to the service term of council of members, they're talking about extending the existing 6-year maximum to a 9-year maximum. They think it's more in line with other adjacent neighbouring councils, which it is. And secondly, there is a process outlined around having a sort of overlap period between an outgoing external member and new incoming member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Questions, councillors? So we do have a recommendation there that we endorse the updated audit and risk charter. I'm seeking a mover, please. Councillor Taylor, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Ryan. Thank you very much. Councillor Taylor.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to add.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against? I'll come back to you, Councillor Taylor. I assume you have nothing to add. That's fine. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, thank you. This carried 7-0. Item 2.10, the biannual report on activities of the Audit and Risk Committee. Mr. Small, could you please step us through?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, every 6 months we need to put a report from the Audit and Risk Committee through to the council. It's tabled by the CEO and it sort of supplements the minutes of the committee you would have seen. This report before we just outlines what's happened in the way of activities of the committee over the last 6 months. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Small. Are there questions from councillors? No, we have been through these in workshop. If there are no questions, we have got a recommendation there and I'm seeking a mover for item 2.10. Councillor Murray, and seconded, Councillor Ross. Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Any other councillors who would like to speak for or against? All right, come back to you, Councillor Murray. Just put it to the vote. Let's do that then. All those in favour, thank you. Carried 7-0. Item 2.11, Audit and Risk Committee Performance Review for Council. Mr. Small, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor, this is the last report on this agenda for risk and audit. And what it's covering is the annual review of the performance of the Audit and Risk Committee by the members of that committee. The most interesting part of this report is on page 221, which sets out the average scores by the members of the committee for each of the three past financial years. And you see that the scores for 24 are better than the previous measures for 5 out of 8 of the criteria, but there was one significant standout that didn't do very well, and that was the external audit. And this was due to circumstances in the external audit firm. They were not able to complete the audit within our time frame, and it delayed the adoption of our annual financial statements, but not the adoption of our annual report. Thank you.
Any councillors have any questions in relation to this item? Councillor Lockett?
Thank you, Mayor. Through question, Mr. Small, how are we safeguarding that happening again? Because that did cause stress, I imagine, for all staff and councillors and CEO, etc.
Thank you. We have raised this with through the mayor. We have raised this with the Auditor General's Office, who appoints their agent, and said we were very dissatisfied with this outcome, and they will obviously keep an eye on it in future. I think that's the best I can do. Circumstances do arise, and I think that we were just unlucky, quite honestly.
You. Okay, if there are no further questions, I am seeking a mover for item 2.1. Well, thank you, Councillor Lockett. Seconded, Councillor Ryan. Thank you, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of the audit and risk, we've kind of brushed over, but it's definitely not something we brush over. I think it's one of the most important, committees and charters and reviews that we have, because it's, there's many areas of risk across the organisation. I think they do a fantastic job in all the transparency that, they're very clear about what areas of council need to be delved into further, and very important committee. So I encourage us to support as well.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against? If not, anything further to sum up, Councillor Lockett?
Thank you, Mayor.
Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour, please. Carried 7-0. We move to item 3.1, and councillors' items now, and the first one is the mayor and councillor activities, which are set out there for you. Are there any questions from anyone or comments anyone would like to make? No, we're all off to a busy start. If there's nothing there, we'll move then to councillor notices of motion. I don't believe there are any. Item 3.3, general matters. I know we have lots of items of general matters to get through today, so who would like to pick up that one? Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. I'd just like to raise that we're currently in the process for our council plan as a new councillor group. The council plan is a strategic document that sets out the vision and priorities of Moyne Shire over the next 4 years, and it helps shapes what council do and how resources are deployed. So we really encourage our Moyne community to have input into this council plan, and our community can do this by completing a survey either online through Engage Moyne, or there are paper versions of the survey available at council locations. We have in-person listening posts right across the Shire, so I encourage you to have a look at where they are and come along to one of those. And we also have registrations to participate in community workshops for in-depth engagement. So any community members are welcome to come to those as well. So the more that we are informed as a council, the better we can represent our community. So strongly encourage people to have their say in this process. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Other items? Councillor Ross.
Councillor Swimming Pool. Done a great job on Australia Day at 200 through the gate, thereabouts. I'd just like to congratulate the committee and Orchid Vintage Rally, the organisers and the sponsors. Done a fantastic job.
Another good event. Thanks, Councillor Ross. Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to thank all of the officers, the council staff involved in pulling together the reflection and healing ceremony on the 25th of January. It was a really, really beautiful, moving event, and I have had my phone and emails have been blowing up with people passing on their thanks and for giving them such a lovely event to attend. So a big thank you to all of the staff and everyone involved.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. I know you're itching over there, councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted a bit of a reflection over speaking of reflection, I have that one to mention as well, but also on 26th of January, Citizens Awards, fantastic. And actually wanted to speak. Okay. Margaret Whitehead was Citizen of the Year. Big congratulations to her. Timothy Resnick, Youth Citizen of the Year. And the Picnic in the Paddock in Kuwait, the event of the year. And also to highlight that in both of their acceptance speeches, Margaret and Timothy couldn't be there, but his brother was there. They both highlighted the importance of volunteering and what that means to them. I think that was just a really good reminder to the community that volunteering is a wonderful thing to do. And that really resonated with me. Shout out to the Moyne program. What a phenomenal event they've put on over summer in Port Fairy. Also highlighting the caravan parks and the businesses. It's probably been one of the busiest summers we've had on record. Normally after New Year's Eve, things quieten down a tiny bit, but it's a ramped up if anything. So we've had lots of businesses saying they've been 10, 15% up in the previous year. So the caravan parks, I think the staff, a big shout out from the cleaners to the top, like everyone's done a phenomenal job to, yes, the odd bin's been full, but that's because we've been so busy. I think that, everyone's cutting the lawns to emptying the bins, everyone's rallied to, make sure it's been a smooth holiday for people. Another shout out, I'll do the Croy Truck Show. Croy Truck Show. I didn't get to it, but I'm sure Councillor Lucas was there. It was a very well attended event.
Fantastic. Biggest ever.
Yeah. And also the upcoming events, we've got the Port Fairy Jazz Festival on the 7th to 9th of February, Port Fairy Marathon on the 16th of Feb, Goon Fest from the 15th to 16th of Feb, which is
Is that still on? Or?
It's on biannually, so it's on this year. It's on every 2 years now. And then we've got the Koroit Show and Field Days on the 22nd of Feb. So we are busy. It's a busy time of year, and then Folky in March. So busy times. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Lockett. Final call for any other matters? Yeah,
I've
councillor
got a couple of clarifications. We were talking about that reflection and healing ceremony. Now, we received funding from the federal government for Australia Day celebrations.
Through you, Mayor, I'll refer to small. We may need to clarify that if this specific. Yes, we do. Yeah, sorry, Ms. McNamara's confirmed. We do get specific funding for.
So does that ceremony on the 25th qualify for that, or do they get separate funding?
Ms. Farrell, I think you've got some clarification.
Thank you. Yes, I can provide some clarification on that. So we did apply for funding through the National Australia Day Council with support from the federal government, provides funding each year to community groups and councils to participate. The grants are to support inclusive events to allow communities to come together, reflect, respect and celebrate being part of an ancient multicultural nation that values every citizen. So we did make application for both events, and this was funded in accordance with their guidelines for that event.
Right, so that event qualifies under those guidelines.
And I've sent you a link actually from our event.
So even though some of us might think it's anti-Australia Day type of event, and I would like to ask Councillor Lockett and Councillor Murray, I was at that event and I heard it said quite clearly that in this area, Aboriginal women were stolen and Aboriginal women were bought and sold. So I'd like someone to clarify that. Tell me if it's correct or not, please.
Okay, well, we may need to take that on notice.
Take that on notice.
We'll make sure.
I heard it loud and clear and I was very disappointed to hear it. So I've been around a while and I've never heard that said ever before by any of the Aboriginal people that I know.
Well, we might seek clarification from our Indigenous colleagues and friends so we can get some clarity.
It'll be very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Any other items of general business? Yes, Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, I'd just like to make note that we wholeheartedly welcome all of our new citizens within the Shire who partook in the ceremony on January 26th, and Moyne welcomes you with open arms.
I said it's one of my favourite things to do. Thank you, councillor Ryan.
One more quick one.
Yes, councillor Jenkins.
Seeing we get federal funding, is there any reason why a community group like the Marlis Black Community and Hall Committee can't apply for funding to put on an Australia Day event? Or any other community? I'm not just saying them, but
I
you
don't
know,
think the
the-
officers can give us some clarification on that, or we might need to take it on
take
notice.
that on notice and see what qualifies.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of communities would like to do it.
Ms. McNamara?
We can find out and check what the criteria is within the funding application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Item 3.4, urgent business. Do we have any? If anybody was raised any? No. So we'll move to item 4, which is the CEO meeting schedule, and I'll ask Mr. Everston to step us through what he's been doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Finally, for the opportunity to do that. So, firstly, I'd just like to start by thanking Ms. Farrell for stepping up as acting CEO over the past couple of weeks. Well, I've been on a little bit of annual leave. So, thank you kindly and a brilliant job in that support. Also, I'd like to thank the broader team, and as mentioned previously, those particularly in our caravan parks, our visitor centres, the events team who are obviously heavily involved right now across a lot of different activity, and of course our emergency management, particularly going back about a month ago with a lot of very serious incidents north of us. Those groups are working through a really busy time of year for them and all doing a brilliant job. So I'd just like to make a very special mention for those members of our team and thanks to them. So in terms of activity with a lot of interaction across the community, a little quieter being the month of January, and a lot of effort into our festivals and events. But I'd like to move to making note of the successful application for the Croydon Township renewal funding of an additional $2 million, which will unlock our capacity to complete stage 3. And so this will mean the entire project for Croydon renewals will move up to $6 million. Stage 3 will be around Commercial Road, a lot of the works to complete the footpath and car parking, also around to High Street. With that will be landscaping and garden works, which we're really looking forward to implementing. So I'd just like to give a shout out to firstly the community members that have helped us with that application and their input, and of course our officers who have done a brilliant job bringing that application together. Not many councils did get that opportunity out of that fund, so we're one of a very few group of councils fortunate enough to secure those monies. So our next step now is to consult and make sure those plans are well in place and understood before we lock in that timing of when stage 3 will occur. But really great outcome, and I'm looking forward to implementing that third and final stage. Also mentioned by Councillor Ryan earlier was the council plan. So that's really starting to dominate now the activity of a lot of our officers in supporting that work. I guess from a Moyne perspective, our ambition is to really find a way to succeed in how we represent those, I guess, aspirations and priorities across the community in a really efficient and clear way. So I think the final outcome of our council plan will look quite different to those plans that we've seen in the past. They'll come out mid-year, so we're still a ways to go yet. But right now, as was mentioned before, those inputs into what those priorities are really, really important right now. So I'd certainly reiterate the encouragement to get involved and share your views through those listing posts in particular. It is a great way to do that. Just moving then into, I guess, some more operational matters. Firstly, our roads and bridges program. So if we look firstly at our unsealed roads this year, we've got about 11,000 kilometres of unsealed roads that we're addressing, and 74% or 820 kilometres of that have already been done. So good progress in our plans this year on unsealed roads. sealed. There's 124 kilometres of roads there to be done. We've completed 39 kilometres so far, which is 31%. A lot of that work so far this year has been around the towns, so not the distance and a bit more fiddly in terms of those requirements. So now with the good weather, you really start to see a lot of the seal works happen across the Shire as we complete the best part of another 100 kilometres over the next few months. So really looking forward to seeing that work completed. Right now and this week, we're working on another funding application for the Gibb Street Port Fairy Bridge. I know that this is obviously getting some attention right across the Shire, but particularly around Port Fairy. We've got an application opportunity that we'll submit by the 31st of January. We are seeking $7 million for that bridge, so we'll keep you informed on our progress there. Financial discipline next is really important for us moving forward. I'm really pleased with some of the management reports we've introduced in recent months to make sure that some of our big costs, such as employee costs, are really well managed, and I'm really pleased to see that under budget at the moment and plan it to continue that way through the rest of the year and beyond. And as Mr. Small mentioned, there's a lot of work happening right now with that forecasted underlying deficit of just over 400,000 to ensure that we find ways to close that gap before we get to the end of the financial year, because we certainly don't want to see any deficit at underlying level by the time we get to the end of the year. So we're hard at work at that. Our project management office that had a really big improvement with their completion rate last year, as Ms Farrell mentioned, are on track with where we were this time last year. So that's a great sign about where we're headed for the rest of the year and that overall completion rate. Also, I'd like to acknowledge our planning team. Lots of tweaks and changes within that team. Our planning decisions completed within the statutory time frame is up about 5% year on year, but we would like to see that continue to improve more and more. So that's a really important focus for the team right now. Great to see a lot of our social media hits are up. So a shout out to our communications team. You are starting to see more and more activity there, and we've invested in different ways into that function. So great to see more and more of the community keeping up with the activity of council through social media. And lastly, I'd like to just acknowledge the launch of Snap Send Solve, which is an app you can download on your phone, and there's information on our website. It sort of becomes the fifth way that anyone in the community can get in touch with us at council about things that need to be taken care of throughout the Shire. So it is an application used by several other councils. It's a real nice, efficient way. You take a photo, it'll identify where you're located, a quick message, and that'll come through to us at council. And ultimately, the objective is to get those sorts of priorities across the Shire. It might be a tree down, it might be a bin that's damaged, it might be those sorts of infrastructure type issues in particular that it's geared towards. But ultimately, it's about trying to get those sorts of things resolved much faster. And the way that you can provide a photo as opposed to trying to describe something on an email or describe something on a phone call, I think is really handy for lots of folks. So really encourage members of the community to jump on board with Snap Send Solve, download it to your phone, and you'll quickly see what's happening with some of our neighbouring shires as well. So it's a really useful tool. So looking forward to getting the very best of that in the months and years ahead. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Epstein. Questions? That very comprehensive report.
Okay, I'll start.
Yep, Councillor Dukes.
Thank you. On page, do we have a page? Page 7 of the report talks about eco-anxiety and ocean leadership workshop. And this is the first I've heard of it. So can we get some detail on what's going on? Talks about an interactive in-school workshop in Hawkesdale to address eco-anxiety and key concerns identified in Mission Australia Youth Survey, all about climate change, I believe. So I hope it's not a propaganda session to brainwash the children.
Okay, I'll take that as a rhetorical question.
No, I'm serious, because it does happen in schools every day of the week.
So you're asking for more information?
I definitely want more information. I want to know where it came from, who organised it, who's paying, everything there is about it.
Okay, we'll get some information to you, Councillor.
Does
For you, Mayor, just noting that council don't have any say over the Victorian curriculum, and that's a state government issue, so I don't think we should be commenting on that at a local government level.
I can comment on what I like, thank you very much.
Okay.
It's in the report. Right, I don't know if it's council or not, but it sounds like it because it's in here.
We'll get
Council will deliver.
some clarification.
So please explain, Ms Ryan, when it says council will deliver an interactive in-school workshop. So we are in the middle of this.
So Councillor Dukas, we've committed, we'll get some information back.
Yes,
to you.
please,
Okay.
before it's too late.
Any other questions in relation to the report? Okay.
Oh, no, there's plenty.
Okay.
Some of you start, I don't know how many do all the lot. Where am I? Moyne Futures Blueprint. That's the land use strategy. Will there be public meetings involved in that? It talks about online surveys, which is the first time I've heard about the online survey, but we've had 40 responses, so that's better than the council plan, I reckon. So a bit of an update, please.
Give some update to that.
To you, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Dukas. Absolutely. This is just the first phase of consultation to get some really core feedback from our community. Future consultation and engagement, particularly with our smaller townships, will be designed to meet in person and to make sure that we're there listening and taking on board what the community's aspirations for their future land use strategy might be.
Further questions, Councillor Dukas?
Yeah, no, I just want to, it was highlighted before, but the Karoid Show and Field Days. I've just got to mention that the Field Days now are part of the Karoid Show, and it'll be a huge event. They received 30,000 in funding, so it's more dairy based. But just a shout out to that, to everybody to get to it, because it'll be a great event. I don't know how they're going to put them in there, but might have to use Freeman's Paddock again, like we did in the good old days. But it will be a great day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Okay, if there's nothing further, we have now. Oh, you're still going. Beg your pardon.
I'm giving people time to catch up. Wind farms. The one I had was Mortlake South. Is there an update on where we are with that? Because they haven't done the proper noise report post-construction. They're doing maintenance work or repairs. Is it ever going to finish, or are they just going to play around without doing actually a legitimate noise report so they operate legally? Just let me know, please, what's happening.
Yeah. Ms McNamara.
Thank you, Mayor. I might suggest, given that
Take it on notice.
definitely, but also I know that we've previously updated in terms of what our understanding is, and it might be worth us writing to the department to seek clarification on what's happening with that, if that's something council might endorse.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more. This wave energy research project, controlling coastlines, etc., with Swinburne University, and we're doing one with, was it Geraldton? They were doing one with Port Fairy and Geraldton. It says here the research project will conclude and a final report released in 2023. I thought they were actually going to get out in the bay and put something or other in the bay to trial it. Councillor Lockett, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I believe they did, Councillor Dukas.
They did.
Yes.
Must have been very bloody big. Don't know how many waves it was going to sort of slow down or surge or
Would
anything.
you like a future update?
Yeah, something will be good, because I was under the understanding they're going to put these, what's the word? So I don't know, wave something or other in there. They were going to generate power.
It's a trial, yeah, it was a research project, yeah.
So it'd be more than a bloody banana box inside. Surely the good news was going to sort of break the wave surge in the base. Can you help me out here, Geordie?
Yeah.
Right,
Don't know where it's up to.
So we'll-
it's sort of fizzed out.
So if it's okay, we will,
Yes.
yes, it looks like we'll get.
Yes,
an update
please.
on that.
Let's leave it.
Yeah, great,
And one more.
yes,
The,
we do this.
it wasn't Vic Grid. It was the guidelines to do with the biodiversity. They were seeking submissions. Managing biodiversity, etc. Now we received one from Mr. Cummings.
Yes,
And he sent on another one from another gentleman.
yes.
Are we actually going to take them seriously, or are we just going to say thank you?
That's up up to our officers to decide what they take on board in the report that comes to us. So I don't know, Ms. McNamara, you want to?
No, I'm a little bit fresh, back from holiday,
And that's a good thing.
isn't it? You're out of trouble.
Through you, Mayor, we are drafting the submission at the moment. We have received the information from Mr. Cumming that will be taken into account, and councillors will be provided with the draft to help us before we send it out.
Mr.
And
Edstone,
yeah, thank you through you, Mayor. So I think, Ms McNamara, that submission's due by the 11th of February. So we've got a little over a week to complete that. So we'll be consulting via workshop as we pull that together.
Can I suggest that whoever's taking this, and the officer, etc., talk to me, Mr. Cummings, on this? Because it's pretty in-depth, especially the report we just received from that 6 or 8 pages. And, you know, to get their, I suppose, their take on it. I don't know, you know, we need to put in a good submission. And I thought if they can help us, I can't see why we shouldn't take their help.
thank you, councillor Lucas. Anything further? Going?
I'm giving the rest a chance, don't they? Did you councillors read the CEO's report or not? No? Oh dear, no, that'll do.
Okay, thank you, councillor Lucas. If there is nothing further, I'll now call for a motion to suspend standing orders so that we can consider the confidential agenda for today. Would somebody like to move? Thank you, councillor Murray. Seconded, councillor Ryan. All those in favour? Is carried 7-0. Thank you to those watching online. Thanks, we'll leave you there.